The Galactic Conservation Center on Theta 7 had seen many species come through its doors, but never a human. Not until Specialist Maya Chen stepped off the transport shuttle, her worn boots crunching against the crystalline platform. Director Vaktar, a towering Zelthian with 4 eyes that blinked in asynchronous patterns, watched the small bipedal creature with barely concealed skepticism. Humans were new to the Galactic Council, barely a decade since first contact, and their reputation preceded them. Reckless, emotional, dangerously unpredictable. "You understand," Vaktar rumbled, his translator chip rendering his clicks and whistles into standard galactic, "that you will be working with the most dangerous creatures in known space, species that have ended civilizations?" Maya adjusted her pack and met all 4 of his eyes without flinching. "That's why I'm here, Director. Earth has some experience with dangerous predators. The other conservation specialists, a methane-breathing court, 2 crystalline shimmers, and a tentacled aquarian, watched from a safe distance. They had all heard the stories about humans, how they came from a death world where everything tried to kill them, how they had somehow befriended their own apex predators and called them pets. But stories were one thing, reality was another. Vaktar led Maya deep into the facility, past enclosures holding creatures that made grown Zelthian warriors weep with fear, past the void serpents of Kepler 442b, whose venom could dissolve battleship hulls, past the shadow raptors of Proxima Centauri C, invisible killers that hunted in packs. They stopped at the final enclosure. "This," Vaktar said gravely, "is a Krelll apex, the deadliest predator ever documented. It has killed 17 handlers in the past cycle. We keep it sedated, study it remotely. No one enters its habitat." Maya pressed her face against the observation window. Inside the massive enclosure, shrouded in artificial twilight, lay a creature that defied easy description. It was roughly the size of Earth's largest bears, covered in midnight black scales that seemed to absorb light. 6 powerful limbs ending in retractable claws, an elongated skull with 3 rows of crystalline teeth, and eyes, intelligent, amber eyes that tracked movement with predatory precision. "Beautiful," Maya whispered. Vaktar's translator chip made a sound like choking. "Beautiful? That creature is a killing machine. It's been in isolation for 2 standard years. It attacks anything that moves. Because it's lonely," Maya said simply, "and scared. Look at its posture. That's not aggression. That's defensive fear." Before Vaktar could stop her, Maya walked to the enclosure's entrance panel. Specialist Chen, "I forbid," but she was already cycling through the airlock. The other specialists rushed to the observation deck expecting to witness a tragedy. Vaktar's claws trembled as he reached for the emergency sedation controls. Maya stood in the enclosure, the door sealing behind her with a pneumatic hiss. The Krelll apex rose to its full height, a symphony of coiled muscle and lethal intent. Its growl resonated at frequencies that made the walls vibrate. She didn't run, didn't reach for a weapon. Instead, she sat down cross-legged on the floor and began to hum, a low, rhythmic sound that her grandmother had taught her, used to calm frightened horses back on Earth. The apex stalked forward, each step deliberate, predatory. It circled her once, twice, its hot breath washing over her. Maya kept her eyes lowered, non-threatening, but aware. Then she did something that made every observer gasp in horror. She extended her hand, palm up. The Krelll apex could have taken her arm off at the shoulder, could have ended her in a heartbeat. Instead, it paused, lowered its massive head, and after what felt like an eternity, touched its snout to her palm. The moment stretched, crystallizing into something unprecedented. Maya's fingers moved gently, finding the pressure points around the creature's jaw where scales met softer hide. The same principles she'd learned grooming dogs, calming cats, gentling wild horses. The apex's eyes half closed. A sound emerged from deep in its chest, not a growl, but something softer. Almost a purr. "Impossible," Vaktar breathed. Over the following weeks, the impossible became routine. Maya worked with the apex daily, building trust through patience and understanding. She learned its body language, its vocalizations. She discovered it preferred the taste of crystalline fruits over meat, that it enjoyed having the scales behind its 3rd limb scratched, that when it was happy, it would make that rumbling purr and its eyes would shift to a lighter amber. The other conservation specialists watched in awe as Maya rehabilitated not just the apex, but creature after creature that had been deemed too dangerous for contact. The void serpent that coiled around her arm like jewelry, the shadow raptor pack that followed her like an obedient squadron. How? The court specialist asked one day, his methane tank hissing softly. How do you do what seems impossible to the rest of us? Maya scratched the apex behind its auditory ridge. It had started following her everywhere, her constant shadow and guardian. Humans spent thousands of years learning to read predators. We had to survive. But more than that, we learned something important. The fiercest creatures are often just afraid. They're not monsters. They're individuals with feelings, fears, needs. She smiled, running her hand along the apex's scaled flank. You all see predators. I see people who speak a different language, and every language can be learned. The Krelll apex, whom Maya had named Echo, pressed its head against her shoulder, a gesture of trust and affection that no galactic textbook had predicted was possible. Vaktar watched from the observation deck, his 4 eyes blinking in wonder. Perhaps humans weren't reckless and unpredictable after all. Perhaps they were something far more remarkable. Beings who could find common ground with the universe's most dangerous creatures, not through domination or fear, but through empathy. It was a very human thing, he realized. And perhaps that was exactly what the galaxy needed. In the enclosure below, Maya laughed as Echo playfully tackled her, careful with its massive strength. Its crystalline teeth gleaming in what could only be described as a smile, the deadliest predator in known space had found something it had never had before. A friend, and that changed everything.